I'm super appreciative of today. I did not expect to see the numbers that we had today. Coach was pushing me and telling me, like, hey, we can do it. Like, I know we can get it. I was like, I don't know, man. We got regional track meet. There's another big clinic going on. I don't know, man. We'll see how it goes, but I really do appreciate you giving me the opportunity to, host and share our facility. Man, we have an awesome facility here. And it's dynamic, and Coach Yox, they did a great job. And it was literally 3 years in the making. Many of conversations with Coach Yox, going back and forth, trying to figure out how do we build something, for our athletes and the way and the style that we want to train here at Waco High School. So I say all that to say, man, I appreciate it. I'm super grateful for today. And today what I'm going to share with you guys is what we have actually built here at Waco High School over the last, year. We've been in this facility since really July. We got in toward the beginning of July last year. And it's been a process of just trying to figure out, hey, where do we want to go with our program? What do we want our program to look like? How do we develop our athletes moving forward? Just because the weight room is different from what we've had in the past. And now we've got a unique opportunity to do some things and really push the edge for our kids. And it all starts really with just our constraints here on campus, right? So what I'm going to share with you guys, it's not saying that we have it all figured out, because we don't. Like, we're still figuring this out. We're still learning. We're still trying to figure out how to maximize our athletes and the things that we're doing here. But before we do that, I want to start with, I feel like anytime I present, I have to start here and talk about my identity as a coach, because it really drives and sets the stage for everything we do here, because it starts with me. I'm the one that's leading the sessions. I'm the one who's driving the culture for this room. So it all starts with my identity and what I believe in as a strength and conditioning coach. And number one, that's to create a program that genetically, or that develops our kids to the best of their genetic potential. That's our goal here at Waco High. And I love that, we had legends here this morning, really just setting the stage and just talking about principles of strength and conditioning, go all the way back to the 70s and the 80s. A lot of that stuff has not changed. There's some things that are out there that you can do a little bit differently, but the principles of strength and conditioning are still the same from day one as they are today. And I want to make sure I do a great job of honoring them, because there's guys in this room, Coach Ken, Coach Ebden, Coach Yox, Coach Reed. These are guys in this room who have, paid it forward for all of us. Coach Brett Brock, I see you back there. These are guys that have done a great job, and I want to make sure I honor those principles that they have, set out in front of us. So anything that we do, I want it to be structurally sound, right? And then results-driven strategies and evidence-based methods. I love what Coach Ken said. He said practical-based methods, right? Sometimes it needs to be practical for us. So, like, as I think about this, man, I also have to talk about just being honest with you guys. Like, as coaches, from time to time, we all miss the mark, right? We miss the mark from time to time. And I know in a room this size, we've all fallen somewhere on this spectrum. I know for me, right, there's times I've been, aimless, right? And just forget the purpose that I'm up here for, or the purpose or the platform that I have here at Waco High School in developing our athletes, right? There's times I've become short-sighted. And what that means is really just focusing on one singular thing. Oh, we got to get the guys stronger. Oh, we got to make sure the vertical jumps go. All those things are good. All those things are great, but it's a piece of the puzzle. Like, the puzzle's so much bigger than those little things, right? Being harmful, right? There's times in which maybe I didn't, progress something properly. Or maybe I didn't coach a kid up with the proper technique or correct something, and someone got hurt in the weight room, right? And I'm sure many of you guys can attest to that as well. And then the thing that I'm probably most embarrassed about is there's times I've been rushed. Right? You think about what we do and who we work with, specifically high school athletes, right? These are young people who don't have it figured out by any means. A lot of them need guidance. A lot of them need advice. Sometimes they need a parent or a father figure in their lives. And there's times I've missed those opportunities to pour into kids because I was so focused on building culture. I was so focused on, hey, we got to make sure bars are moving. I was so focused on the performance side of things. But at the end of the day, we are in a relationship business. It's all about service. We are serving young athletes. And there's times I've missed the boat there. And that's probably the one that, will keep me up at night more than anything. But where I want to land, honestly, more times than not, I want to be influential. Because I believe that's where kids get better. Is when you can actually influence kids, whether that's from an athletic standpoint, right? They really buy in and believe what it is you're selling them, right? You can influence them athletically, but also just from a character standpoint, right? We know the percentage of kids that are actually going to go on and play at the next level. They're going to go to college, and then they're going to go to the NFL. It's a very low percentage, but Every kid that walks through these doors, they're going to be an adult at some point. Right? They're going to have to go to job. They're going to have to get a job. They're going to have to go to work. They're going to have to take care of a family. They're going to have to manage finances, right? So there's a lot of things that we do in this weight room that I want to make sure prepares them to be an adult and to live life once they leave here at Waco High School. So for me, like these are the things that help me stay grounded, okay? If it doesn't fit in one of those three things, structurally sound, evidence-based principles, right? If it doesn't fit in those things, chances are we're probably not going to do it. And that wasn't always the case for me. You know what I mean? Like, I've only been a street coach for, going on 12 years now. So I haven't been at the game like some of you guys for a long time. You guys have seen the ebbs and the flows of strength and conditioning, how it's changed and things like that. I haven't seen all that. So in order for me to stay grounded, I've got to have some principles and I've got to have things that, I stand upon. Right? So as we kind of go through this talk, I want to make sure, like, that's the lens that you see this thing from, right? That's the lens. It's for me, it's about our kids. Like, 'cause at the end of the day, these are the ones, you got parents that have literally given kids to us, right? And I want to make sure I do a good job of stewarding that and then giving it back to them, okay? But before we get into all that, sets and reps and programs, like, let's keep it real. Everybody in here, everybody has a system, right? It's maybe something you've invested a lot of time into. Coach Boyd, he's invested a lot of time into his system, right? Coach Reeves, density training, I'm sure you've invested a lot of time into it, right? Something you maybe even had to teach people, right? But at the end of the day, all systems work. Every system, or joke here, every system's work, okay, until it meets constraints, right? On paper, you write it down on paper, it's the greatest system or greatest program, whatever it is that you've ever had. Right? But when you add kids in the mix, you add your schedules, when you add your constraints in your weight room, you add your logistics, right? Those things start to change your program, right? And as we talk about what we do here at Waco High, a lot of the things that we do stem from our constraints. So we have to figure out, okay, what are the things that are keeping us from attaining like the success that we know we can have, right? And then we just start working from there to build what it is that we have. And I'm just calling it the hybrid strength system. Right, because I'm taking models in which that I've been exposed to throughout my career of strength and conditioning, and really just trying to figure out what's the good, what from this system could work for us. Okay, so in that, right, there's this quote from Bruce Lee, right? He says, "Absorb what is useful, discard what is not, but add what is uniquely your own." Right, and that's essentially what we have done here at Waco. I don't know much about Bruce Lee, y'all. I know he wasn't talking about strength and conditioning though, right? And you might as well say he was, but in that's what we're doing, right? We're trying to figure out what are the things that we can take and plug into our program that match our kids, that match our environment, that match our system so that we can get the result that we're looking for. Quick story here. So we have a new head football coach. He's been here about 13, 14 months now, okay? And when he came in, he and I did not see eye to eye on a lot of things. Right? He had his way of wanting to train. I had my way of wanting to train. And he's like, hey, we're just going to do what I did over here at these schools, and we just going to make it run here. And I'm just like, Coach, it don't work like that. Why not? We had success here. We should just be pick it up and then move it over here. Like, it sounds good, but you got to remember, we don't have those same kids you had. You sure as hell don't have the same weight room as y'all had whenever you were running that system. Right, but then also, like, there's more constraints that we've got to take into play. We can't just pick up a program and put it over here and say it's going to work. Because it's all based off of constraints. Okay, so for us, here's where our reality lies. Right, so we're taking all these factors into consideration when we're trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do to train our athletes? So number one, we run a block schedule. What that means is we have A days, B days, C days. Coach Ken talked about it a little bit. Okay, so A days and B days are 90-minute class periods. Okay, and you go through periods 1 through 4. A days is always Monday and Wednesday. B days are always Tuesday, Thursday. And then on Friday, we run a C day. That's a traditional 1 through 8. You go through all your classes. Those are 47-minute class periods. Okay, so for us, that poses challenges because, like a football coach, you say, hey man, I want to train 4 days a week. Well, coach, we only get them 3 days in the period, and we're going to see them. So we got to start figuring out how we get them in an extra day before or after school, along with 73% of our athletes being multi-sport athletes. So not only after school and before school, they got powerlifting, they got baseball, they got basketball, they got track. There's a lot of things going on. right? So we can't just say, all right, this is what we're going to do, and not take into account all these factors that we have to work through. Okay, number two, and I think if you're a high school coach, you have this massive range of training ages. If you're a high school coach, you have that in your weight room. You got kids who, maybe been with you 3-4 years now, have a really solid training base, but then you've got some kids who, man, they don't know nothing. The freshmen, they're walking into the weight room, they don't know a thing, but a lot of times they're thrusted into the same athletic period, same training time as those older kids. So you got to figure out, how do we manage that? How do we manage these multiple different, levels of training? In that, right, large groups. Again, if you're a high school coach, you're going to have large groups. So for us, in the morning, we'll have 10 through 12 boys football. We'll have 10 through 12 basketball, grades, 10 through 12 soccer, and then track, 10 through 12. They're all being here working. And that's about, it depends on who all shows up. If everybody's here, it's 103 dudes. Right? And this isn't like a massive weight room. Yeah, we can make it work out. But you got to have some serious structure and some serious organization to get 103 dudes working in here at a good pace, getting work done. Okay? And like I said, coach, he wanted to work out 4 days a week. Okay? But every system works perfectly on paper until it meets your constraints. So for us, right, these are the things that we were thinking about. So I'll just talk a little bit about each one of these programs, how I experienced all of them. Again, Coach Ken talked about it. If you've never did a clean, you shouldn't be having cleans in your program. If you've never experienced or read one of these programs, you've never done anything, research about it, you probably shouldn't be running any of these programs. So 531, my first exposure to 531 was as a graduate doing grad work at Tarleton State. And at this time, I was just now starting to get to program for myself and program for teams when I was training over at D1 part-time, and then being a private sector coach, doing some training on myself. So 531, I was starting to use it, and I've used 531 really throughout the course of my career in times and stops. So that was my first, exposure to 531, and the simplicity of it and just the linear progression of it made so much sense for me for youth athletes and high school athletes. So okay, I know for certain, there's a lot of good in that, right? There's a lot of good kids can get stronger from that. It's not complex. Hell, you only got 3 options. It's either 5s, it's either 3s, or it's either 1s. Right? It's not, Coach, how many reps we got today? It's week 2. We got 3s. Okay, so it's real simple in that. And then the conjugate. So the first time I was introduced to conjugate, man, I'm walking in at Tarleton State. I'm coming in as an undergraduate intern, and I'm getting thrown into the fire, making PB&Js with Matt, and I'm on water duty, and I see these tendos. I'm just like, what's going on? Tendos, bands, chains. I'm just like, I don't know what they do, but it looks cool. And then just throughout my time, I'm like, this is what conjugate is, and I'm learning about West Side Barbell, and we've got these. This is, and I say back in the day, but the GAs used to print off. They essentially go to Elite FTS, and they would print off articles first, and we'd have to read them, and we have to talk to the GAs about it. But they're printing off all this West Side stuff, and I was like, I don't know nothing about this. But throughout the course of the years, conjugate just kept coming up, and I slowly began to learn. Then I started doing conjugate myself. Started training conjugate. I was like, man, I think I enjoy this. I'm not sure how to implement this into a program yet, and it really wasn't until I first got here to Waco High School that we implemented elements of conjugate. We didn't run a full conjugate system. There were elements of conjugate that we adopted. Tier system, and I don't even need to say much about the tier system. Coach, I crushed it, but when I learned about the tier system, a light bulb went off. Everything started to make sense from a programming standpoint. Being able to structure a program, being able to structure a session, it all began to make sense for me. And then VBT. I spent 3 years out in Georgia as an assistant strength and conditioning coach, coaching football, coaching middle school track, and then coaching middle school basketball. So doing the whole shebang, coaching, strength, and then middle school athletes. And in that time, we were a private school, a pretty wealthy private school, $24,000 a year for kids to go there. So there were really wealthy families there. So we were, we had all the glitz and glam. We were fully VBT. Everything we did was VBT. So I had a little bit of exposure to VBT from my Tarleton days, and then for 3 years, everything was VBT. We tracked every single thing. So I knew and I saw the benefits of VBT and how it changed the game for a lot of our athletes, just them being able to see what intent looks like and what it looks like to drive a barbell, and what it looks like to finish a lift all the way through. I was able to see that, and I saw a lot of benefit in that. So I knew, like, okay, these are the things that I want to try to fit into our program, right? So as we're sitting down, I'm talking with our head football coach, like, and I'm telling him all this, like, these are the things that I think will help us moving forward. And he's like, I don't even think about that. Well, good, because I'm going to teach you about it, right? So it came down to these 4 questions, right? What problems are we trying to solve here? One, we want to train 4 days a week. We got this crazy schedule. So we got to have some unique and legit structure, okay? Not only that, but can our athletes execute what it is that we want them to do? Because we're not going to program anything that we see, you know, on YouTube reels or anything like that because it looked cool. One, I got to know and trust that if I'm doing this for my athletes or if I'm giving this to my athletes, they can actually execute it. Yeah, obviously with a little bit of help and a little bit of coaching, but overall, this has got to be something that they can execute at the end of the day. Okay, and then can our coaches coach it? Because there's 98 to 103 people in here. I can't coach everybody, right? So we've got to have coaches in here that can actually coach and they understand what it is I'm asking them to do. And I'm not always here. Okay, so it can't be a system that operates on Coach Burks. It's got to be able to run whenever I'm not here in the room. Well, otherwise, it's not a system, right? If it's dependent on me being here, it's not a system. So it's got to be able to operate and run if I'm ever not here, or if I need somebody else to step up and run the program. So those are the questions we have to ask ourselves. And like, okay, all right, so we're not just going to run a system. We're going to filter all the systems. We're going to figure what's the good in those systems, and then we're going to figure out how we make it work here at Waco High School. And then that's how we came up with the hybrid strength system. So again, like 5-3-1, these are just some, if you know nothing about 5-3-1, if you know anything, nothing about Jim Wendler's 5-3-1 program, these are just some quick hitters real quick, okay? Centers around 4 basic movements, or 4 big movements: squat, deadlift, bench, overhead press, okay? He talks about sub-maximal training, really big on that, not using a 1-rep max for your training max, but going 90% of your 1-rep max as your training max, okay? And we'll talk more about that. Really structured periodization. You know, week 1's 5, week 2 is 3s, and then week 3, 5-3-1. Week 4, it's a deload week. Love the finisher sets, AMRAP. So for us, this is how it has influenced our work. And like I said, we don't run any of these programs holistically. We take out the good, okay? We discard the rest, okay? And we add uniquely our own flavor to it, okay? So for us, right, we don't necessarily use those 4 movements, okay? We use max squat, front squat, bench press, incline, overhead press, and clean. We use 6 movements, okay, in our 5-3-1 protocol, okay? We don't necessarily use the 90% sub max. I like the 92-5, just for the times that I've used it as training and use it with athletes, especially when you get to those plus sets on the backside. I don't really want you hitting, 14, 15 reps on the plus 5. Okay, I want to lower that number down because we know that max that you get from that is not going to be an accurate number. So the lower that number is, I feel more comfortable with that. So we use a 92-5. What we did pull from hybrid or pull from the 5-3-1 was the rep scheme. Same rep scheme that Jim Wendler preaches, we use the exact same rep scheme. Don't change it up at all. And then obviously we adopted the AMRAP sets, okay? And so for me, hybrid acts as our max effort structure. Okay, so anytime I tell our kids, hey, it's a max effort day on bench press, they know we're doing 5-3-1. Simple and easy. They know it's going to be real clean, real easy. 5-3-1. Hey, it's week 2, max effort. They know they got plus 3s on the backside. Okay? And then moving on, we've got the conjugate. Okay, and I love what Coach Kidd said. And like I said, don't be a fool up here. Like I know for a fact, like we don't have what it takes to run the entire conjugate system. We don't have that. Right? So one of the things we said, hey, we don't have any band pegs, so we can't do accommodating resistance. That was one of the things that we said was big on West Side Barbell, accommodating resistance. We don't have that. Okay, so we can't adopt that into our program. Chains, we don't have chains. So that's not an instrument in the way in which we can train. So we don't do that. Okay, so there's elements of the conjugate that we're learning. It's not a full conjugate program, but we want to take out the good that works here at Waco High from the conjugate. And that is max effort, dynamic, and repetition effort. Okay, obviously he was big on, Westside was big on these multiple training qualities: speed strength, or absolute strength, speed strength, and then hypertrophy. Okay, and then for us, okay, so conjugate really serves as an intensity philosophy for us. Okay, so it really just helps ebb and flow throughout the course of the week and how we structure our training each day. Okay. Any questions? Let me know if I'm moving too fast. Tier system, like I said, man, tier system, I don't even need to spend a lot of time. Coach Ken crushed it on the tier system. But for us, what we adopted and how we adopted the tier system, that's the way our room's set up. Our weight room is set up in a tier format. The backside over there, that's our lower body tier. This middle section is our upper body tier, and then this over here, that's our total body tier. We have a fourth tier where you guys are sitting. We call it the athletic alley. This is where we get athletic at. So any type of athletic movements, they happen here. Okay, so for me, the tier system is our organizational backbone. It really solves all the chaos that we have. When you got 98 dudes in here getting after it, right? There's got to be a legit sense of organization in it, and the tier system does that for me. It organizes everything for me to make sure we are training optimally. The thing I love about it, though, and it's not necessarily the way Coach Ken talked about it, is wherever you start at. So most of the guys know that they start, you're group 2, so that means you're going to be in the middle. Group 3, you'll be in group 1, you'll be back there. They know that. So group 1, who starts out on squat, and then group 2, who starts out on bench press, they're going to experience the workout differently because group 2 is going to squat last. So they're going to go get cleans, they're going to get athletic out here, and then they're going to go finish up a squat. So that 85% on squat gets them a little bit different than it does the first group that's there on squat. And I love that element of it because you can't run from it. It is what it is today, Coach. Coach, can we start here? No, you can't. You gotta get it. It is what it is, man. You can't do anything about that. And like Coach said, that's sports. Like you can't do the most taxing things first in sport. You still got to play in the fourth quarter at the end of the day. And for us, it's a way for us to just foster a mindset that, hey, it doesn't matter what you put in front of us, Coach. None of that matters. We're going to bust through it. And that's the mindset that we try to implement, the mindset we try to give our kids is like, all the other stuff, guys, it doesn't matter. Go attack it, right, and get through it. And I talked with Coach Ken about that, just like, how does that affect you, too? Because he had some great points about, if it's an upper body day, that needs to be the most important thing. So I'm picking his brain about it. It's like, hey, so what do you think about that? And he basically said, just compare, those weeks. So if week 1, we know group 1 started over there, compare week 1, week 2, and week 3, based off how they perform in tier 1, the most important tier that day. I was like, I never really thought about that. But looking forward, that's one of the things we'll look at is just comparing week by week. And then VBT, right? We use VBT. Not holistically. Right now, we're only using it for our lower body movements. And that's the only time we're using it because I'm still learning the Burks system. Okay? And our athletes are still learning it. Like we've only had it a couple of months now. So I don't want to, I already, deal with 345 athletes. So that in and of itself is enough. And so I can barely, take on all this VBT stuff. So I'm still trying to develop a system to where I can actually use it to make decisions. Right? But right now, it helps our kids understand what intent is, right? And even our coaches, right? Because some of our coaches know nothing about VBT, but they know if that bar graph on the iPad is red, they know something's not right, and they can start coaching something up, right? Hey, that was a red rep. Hey, we got to go. They can give them some type of feedback now, right? Versus, oh, you got the rep. Yes, we got the rep, Coach. I know, but we didn't move it the way we needed to move. Right? Yes, that's not enough just to get the rep, but that's what we got to get our kids to understand. And I believe that is the hardest thing to get high school athletes to grasp. It's intent. Like it's one thing to do a rep, but then it's another thing to actually dominate a rep. And I think a lot of high school athletes, they've been so used to just doing the rep. No, we don't want to just do the rep. I need you to dominate the rep. I need you to move that barbell. So it helps them understand what intent is. And that's something we've adopted fully. So we use it in these ways, right? So I always tell the kids, hey, you got to earn it. Okay, 2 or more red reps. Hey, we got to have for 2 consecutive sets, right? If we're doing 3s, right, and 2 of your 3 reps are red, 2 sets in a row, you ain't got no choice. Take weight off the barbell. Hey, and you don't like taking weight off the barbell? Prove me wrong, man. I'll give you another shot, but you got to prove me wrong. Otherwise, you need to take some weight off the barbell because you're not doing what I need you to do. Okay, so anytime we're going dynamic effort, these are the zones that we stay in, 0.75 to 0.90 meters per second. Same concept, 2 red reps for lower weight, okay? But I always tell the guys, man, you can always add more weight. If you are in the gold and you're hitting it, you're crushing it, go up in weight. Add 5 pounds every single day. As long as you're gold and you're hitting the zones that I need you to hit, I don't care. The weight that's on the sheet, right, that's just a starting point for you. right? You get to determine how much weight you put up on the barbell based off of how you move it today, okay? And then I love the competition aspect of it. It really does build competition because if I'm pulling out red reps and my partner's getting green reps and I got to knock out 3 push-ups for losing the set because we're doing 3 push-ups, right? The third set is a competition set. So if your average velo is lower than your partner's, you got 3. Get 3 push-ups, okay? And they hate that. They hate having to do 3 push-ups because they lost. So it's a way for us to kind of foster some competition and really drive intent in the weight room. And then just quality control. This is really for our younger athletes, okay? Inexperienced athletes. We know, like on our max effort days, going back to Jim Wendler, right? He talks about training to technical failure. So this is a way to really actually protect our athletes because a lot of times they don't really understand technical failure. So a lot of times that varsity is going to be there first before they get to technical failure, right? And that's a way to kind of help them and be a little bit safer in the weight, especially for our younger athletes. And it depends on the particular lift and where we are in the week. Sometimes it's a 0.25 for our older guys on the bench press, but most of the time it's like a 0.30 cutoff. And it also depends who the athlete is. I'll let them keep going and keep riding out if it's one of our older guys who I trust in a way who's a little more experienced. So before I show you the weekly, right, these are our exposures. We're going to squat 4 days a week. Okay? We're going to bench, or we're going to press. And when I say bench, we're going to press 4 days a week. So our squat, we're going to back squat twice, we're going to front squat once, and then we're going to split squat once. Those are going to be our 4 exposures to squat throughout the week. Back squat on Tuesday, back squat on Friday. We'll front squat Monday, and then Thursday we'll go split squat. Okay, on Wednesday we'll go split squat. One of those days. Okay, we'll press 4 days a week. We bench on Monday. We military, we'll overhead press Tuesday. We incline Thursday, and then we get another bench press on Friday. Okay, and then we go 3 clean exposures, and one of those is so we go power, hang, power, and then we go trap bar jump on the other days. Okay, so these are our weekly exposures. So let me just give you the breakdown. Day 1. So this is week 1, day 1. Okay, and I run it in an 8-week block. Okay, so essentially what it looks like in an 8-week block. Okay, so we know that day 1 our front squat is a max here. They know they're going to have plus sets on the backside, and they're going to have VBT attached to it, and they got to go get after it. Okay. Bench press, it's a 5x3 and 45% because it's the first. This is like coming back from winter break, coming back from Christmas break. Okay, so we're lighter on the low dynamic effort. I need you to move the barbell fast. Okay, so they're going 5x3. And then the clean, it's more of a technical aspect. The volume or the intensity is a little bit lower because I really want to work on technique, really. And I always tell our guys, anytime we're first week of a training block, we don't dump the barbell from the top. We clean it, we control it back down to the ground, and then we go back up from there. We don't dump it from the top. If we're the first, because the load's not heavy enough for you to dump it. Especially, young athletes who've got 10s on the bar, but you better not dump it with 10s on the bar. You need to control that bar back down to the ground. So day 2, it just flips, right? So now we're going dynamic effort back squat, okay? Max effort upper body, which is a military press, okay? So, and then we go another dynamic total body, which is trap bar jump, okay? And I actually pull it from the back squat, just because we haven't really gotten into a lot of trap bar deadlifts this year. It's going to come in the summertime, so we'll go off of that. And when we do trap bar jumps, we have the VBTs going up over here, the perch is going up, we look at peak power. And that's the way of competing, is just who can get the highest peak power number at your rack, right? I hadn't figured out how to get it up there to where it pops and have the workout and have that thing floating, but I'm going to work on it this summer. But that's the way in which we use it. And like I think it was Coach Ken that said it, the military press or the overhead press really does improve your bench press, right? And I'm a firm believer in that. If you find someone who can overhead press a lot of weight, chances are they're going to be a pretty good bench presser. But I don't think it's the same when you flip it. Okay, same for a front squat and the back squat. So day 3, this is like a Wednesday for us. We have a Thursday off. This is like a Wednesday for us. So day 3, we go with split squat, and everything's 5 sets, right? Because really that's the amount of sets I can put on the card right now until I adjust it. But 5 sets, and it just works perfectly with time. So they're going to split squat. It's about 75% of their split squat max, which is pulled from their back squat. We go incline, another max effort upper body, and then we go hang clean. And the hang clean percentage is essentially an undulating percentage from Monday and Friday's cleans exercise. So it's like right there in the middle somewhere. So 5x3, again, it's a lighter load. Do not take the barbell to the ground or to the last set or to the last rep. Let's get it. Let's focus on that. And then as we get into that second block, then we'll start to add the auxiliaries. Yes, sir.
Got 2 questions for you. One, on the spin squat, what do you use for training match? You base that off of a bilateral squat?
A percentage of it, yes, sir.
And then the other question is, do you use 5-3-1 with a plus set on your cleans?
No, sir, we do not. So yeah, we do not use the 5-3. It's just the rep scheme, but we do not do a plus set on the cleans. No, sir, we do not do that. That's a great question, though. So it's just 5s all the way through. You don't get a money set on cleans. It's really our strength lifts that we're doing money sets on. Okay? Great question, Coach. Any other questions about that? And this is just the training part, because I believe, like, in my opinion, this is where high school programs kind of fall off a little bit, is the way in which you structure your card and then also how you deliver it to your athletes. I know a lot of programs will just write it on the whiteboard every single day, right? I feel like when the athletes have something tangible that they can look at and it's in their hands, I feel like there's a little more buy-in into it. It does something for them when they actually have something tangible they can see what they're doing. And what we do is, after every workout, I get all the cards, and you get an X. You get an X marked on your card. A red X means you missed. A black X means you were present. So if you got all these black X's on your card, right, that's an indicator for us. I mean, this guy's going in. This guy is committed to what we're trying to do. And then we post percentage attendance reports at the end of every block. If you're not 90% or higher, okay, you go see Coach Martinez. Okay, you have a conversation with him. And you'll be surprised at how many guys are really excited about, Coach, I got all black. I don't have any reds. Coach, no reds on my card. Yeah, that's good. That's what we want. That's what it's going to take, guys, to turn things and get them going in the right direction. So this is just a card, real simple, right? Front squat, bench press, clean. It tells them percentages, the reps, okay? And then it tells them the weight they got to have in the right. 4-week card. I create a new one every 4 weeks, okay? One of the things that I do, and I'll explain it here on our money set, okay? So we call it the money set, okay? Money set!
Get that bread.
There it is, right there. Get that bread. So we yell out money. I stole that from Doug. It's really our freshmen. They love that. We yell out money set, and everybody just go crazy. They say, get that bread. And then we go get it. So money set, that's really a way for how we build mindset. That's where structure and mindset bridge together, right? Because at the end of the day, like, sometimes I got to make a play. I understand it's 3rd and long. We got to make a play. We got to get off the field. I got to get it done, right? That's the money set, right? And I tell them, hey, before you do the money set, you need to tell your partner how many reps you're going to get. You need to set it in your mind that this is what I'm going to walk away with. At the end of the day, you know what you got to get. Sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. But I want to try to develop a mental edge, because I feel like that's what our kids like, right? Just that mindset of, hey, I'm going to go get it and I'm going to get it done. So we call it the money set. And here's how we structure our money set. One, it creates a tangible momentum to compete against yourself, but also to compete against your peers. This is AJ. This is like the first week of our training block. He's doing 3s, and I think he got all 6 of them. Okay, so the way that we provide guardrails for the money set, because high school kids, some of them, you have some of those in your weight room that they will literally die at the rack if you let them. They won't leave the rack. They'll just go get it until they die. AJ's one of those kids. So you got to provide guardrails and protect them. So on a +5, obviously you are going to get your 5 reps. You're going to give me 5. Okay? And then after that, you can work up to an additional 5 reps. Okay, on a +5. Same thing on a +3. You got to give me your 3. Okay? And if you get your 3 within the bounds of the VBT, okay, you can work toward another 3. Okay, so 6 reps total on those. And then the +1, you can work up to 3 total reps. And the reason being is because when I take those numbers, we have a coach over there with a sheet. I'll show you the sheet. So our money set sheets, we have a coach with a sheet. So after we, our 9 to 10 minutes of each tier finishes, everybody goes down to a knee. Coach, you see it? Everybody goes down to a knee. Coach got a sheet. Hey, how many reps did you get? Well, I got 6. How many did you get? I got 4. How many did you get? I got 8. How many did you get? I got 5. I take the sheet, I plug it all in, and it spits out an estimated max for them. We post it at the beginning of each week, and they can see what their estimated max is. So now they have something to work toward. Okay? They don't know that I'm not actually using that number to program for them. It's just a way to motivate them a little bit. So now they see, oh, I can do 350. I don't know, we'll see. But you got something to work toward. Okay, you got something to work toward, and now you got a little motivation, right? And they love to come in and wait, because where's the sheet at? Where's the sheet? You didn't post the sheet today? Come on, coach, I got 6 last week. So it does something for me to get those sheets posted up for them, because I know they look forward to it. At the end of the 4 week, all I do is make a 5-pound increase on their max. That's it. They don't know it. They can't do math. They don't know what 65% or 315 is. So they don't know. I just add 5 pounds to your max, and that's how we progress it. And then at the end of the 8 week, 5 more pounds. That's it. But I'm not making the jump from 245 to 270 for that kid. But for him, he feels good about himself. Man, I got 270. So at the end of our 12 weeks, when we go test, he's got something to aim toward now. Now he's got a goal where he's going to walk away with on his money sets or his squats. Okay, repetition effort. We talked about that with the conjugate. Coach, how many time I got? We good with time? Yeah, we good with time. Okay, so repetition effort. Okay, the way we do it is we do it in the circuit format. Okay, the first 8 weeks, it's all circuit. So we got 4 stations in the weight room, and we go 4 minutes or four rounds. You got 5 to 6 minutes each round, and a coach is there controlling it. He's telling you when to work, when to rest, and you're working through it, right? So station 1 is the back side of our room, back extensions, plate sit-ups, kettlebell rows, and bench dips, okay? Station 2, every minute on the minute kettlebell swings, you got 12. Okay, each week it goes up by 2. So you every minute on the minute, you get a kettlebell swings, you and your partner, coach controlling that, and blow the whistle. Every minute, you gotta get your swing, set your bell down, wait for the next guy to go. And you usually have about 15, maybe 20 seconds of rest time. Station 3, we're going landmine rotations, hamstring roller, curls, lat pull downs. Station 4, out here where we get athletic, it's a med ball circuit. Okay, and you're working through it. So the way we do it is each group they know is posted up over there on the wall. They have an auxiliary station that they start at. So if you're in station 1, Mondays and Wednesdays, you know you're going to get auxiliary stations 1 and 2. Okay, and then on Tuesday, Thursdays, you know you get auxiliary stations 3 and 4. So you get it 2 times a week, and the kids know they understand. Just say, hey, group 1, start at 1, group 2, start at 2, group 3, start at 3, group 4, start at 4. Okay, we blow our whistle, 6 minutes of work, and then we'll rotate. Here's a quick video of it. So this is station 1. They're getting their dips. You got some guys doing plate sit-ups. You got a couple guys down there doing bent rows. And then you got on the backside, you can't see how to get a video, but on the backside by the windows, you got guys going back extensions. And then station 2, every minute on the minute with Coach Walski. He loves this one. He walks up and down with his stopwatch and his whistle, and he blows it. And they're going kettlebell swings every minute on the minute. Station 3, that's our lat pull down. You got one of our quarterbacks, he's doing some arm care stuff. Landmine rotations, hamstring rollers, and then where I'm sitting, there's a guy next to me getting curls down. And then we got the guys in the black shirt. These are the guys that are committed to the program, who are above the standard. They get to wear all black. Everybody else get a white shirt with a question mark, and they're doing part of the med ball circuit. Okay. So going back to all those constraints, right? So now we've neutralized all those constraints, right? We figured out how we make sure that they fit within our system. Number 1, the mixed training needs. To me, I believe 531 solves that for us because it meets the kids where they are, right? And in our freshman group, they don't always get to do money sets. Sometimes they just get their 5 sets of 5. So it just depends on how I'm feeling that day and how they're looking. I'm like, hey, guys, money set. And they say, get that bread. And they get so excited about it because they know they don't always get a money set. So they're really excited when I yell out money set. Okay, hectic class schedule, that the tier system helps us with that because I know that if it's set up a tier format, they're going to train all the important areas in which we need to train. They're going to get a total body movement, they're going to get an upper body, they're going to get a lower body movement, and then they're going to get athletic out here on the ring. Okay, and that's through the tier system. We miss a day because of whatever schedule happens. Large groups, tier system, and the stations help us with that. And then the way we manage intensity without burning the kids out because we want to train 4 days a week, right? And there's a lot of things going on in the spring, right? To me, the conjugate method and DBT helps solve that because it helps wave the intensity up and down throughout the week. So, to me, the ultimate metric, though, is it's got to transfer at the end of the day, right? Because at the end of the day, if we're doing all of this and our kids aren't actually moving better, they're not actually making plays, and it's not helping out there, or in the gym, or on the pitch out there, right, then it really doesn't matter. The entire system exists for one singular reason, right? If the strength, the intent, the execution do not show up on Friday nights or Tuesday nights for soccer and basketball, right, it just doesn't matter. So at the end of the day, we've got to be able to take what we do, right, and it's got to be able to transfer out there. And that's what I tell our coaches all the time. It's like, yeah, numbers went up and guys got stronger, and that's great. That's going to help their confidence. They're going to feel confident when they step out there, right? But at the end of the day, I'm in the weight room. I'm not calling plays out there. I'm not on the court drawing up defensive strategies and things like that. Like, that's not my job, right? But I'm telling you, they're going to be prepared to compete, right? So if it ain't going the way it's supposed to be out there, I can guarantee you it's not because our kids aren't prepared. It's not because our kids aren't ready to handle what it is that they're doing, right? And I'll tell that to our coaches. I won't ever tell our kids that. I'll tell it to our coaches in the conversations that we had. Like, hey, man, I promise you, I'm going to make sure your guys are ready to do what you need them to do. Okay, so we gotta be halfway in this. And then as we kind of close this thing out, right, if you were trying to set up your own hybrid framework, right, because at the end of the day, that's what this is. This is not a model to copy. I mean, if you got the same constraints I got, yeah, copy it, right? But at the end of the day, this is a framework, right? One, start simple, right? Don't copy complex systems, right? Start simple, and for us, that was 5-3-1, trying to start simple. Number two, solve your immediate problems. Address your unique constraints first. We have a lot of them in our system, right? So we wanted to build our system around our constraints and how we train them, okay? And then after that, layer in complexity. That's where the VBT comes in. That's where the conjugate method comes in, right? Only add what your athletes have earned the right to do. Like, they've got to be ready to do these things. So don't go off on, the YouTube reels and taking all these cool exercises that you see out there. And a lot of times, man, like what you said, the basics work. The basics work. We don't have to get fancy. And then feedback. Use feedback to drive decisions. So that's what that money set sheet's for. That's my feedback. The BBT, the iPad, that's the feedback, right? Use those things to figure out, hey, is the program working? Are kids actually getting stronger? Right? What am I seeing on the money sets, right? What does it look like from the group that has to do squats last versus the group that has to do squats first? Right? How does that affect their body? And then use those type of things to figure out how you grow your program, how you alter it, right? And then you just adjust accordingly. And final, to me, like, the final filter is the system, right? If you go all the way back to the beginning, the system, it serves the mission. The mission is to develop athletes to the best of their genetic potential. At the end of the day, that's our goal here, right? And then the mission is our kids. We work in a service-based industry. We're trying to serve young kids. If you're a high school coach, you're trying to serve young athletes. And that's what all of this is built around. It's built around the kids, right? And it took me a long time to really kind of get this part down. You don't have to choose sides in this profession. You don't have to be a this guy. You don't have to be a that guy. Oh, I'm a this guy. I'm a this guy. You don't have to be. It's about one of the most effective systems for your athletes, right? In your environment. So at the end of the day, your constraints, right, really get to dictate what it is that you're doing with your athletes. So I really do appreciate you guys. I appreciate your time. If you got any questions, here's my contact. You can spit them off, spit your contacts out. But if you got any questions, yes, sir.
I do. I was at your workouts.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very impressed. You had your soccer coach as part of there, your women's soccer coach, your basketball coach, your football coach. A lot of the football coaches were there. They were involved. They seemed like they bought in, but also they could correct the techniques. Do you have a system where you're educating those coaches on what's going on so they know how to coach or how to correct those mistakes?
Yeah. In addition, we did, so at the beginning of the school year, we always host our staff meetings, all staff meetings here on campus. And we had an influx of new coaches, just like in the program, pretty much. So that was my opportunity to sit with the coaches and just talk to them. Hey, this is the expectation in the weight room. But what helps more with that is our athletic coordinator, right? That's his expectation for our coaches when he evaluates them. So are you present in the weight room, right? That's a standard that he holds them to. And if that person isn't helping drive that, it's going to be really hard to get coaches in line. So he drives that. He tells them that you need to be in the weight room with your athletes. You need to be present. You make sure you're coaching. You need to make sure you're on time to the weight room. Because at the end of the day, they're only going to listen to me for so much. I don't dictate playing time. I don't get to say, hey, you're not going to play today if you miss weights. That's the coach's job. So if the coach is bought in here in the weight room and making sure the athletes are heavy, they'll do right.
Well, plus if you're the only strength coach,
Yeah.
you need that help with those athletes. So that's it.
Well, along those same lines, my question has to do with as we get close to the end of the school year, and we start with summer staff.
Yeah.
So it's not only the high school coaches, because where I am, I coach, I'm a football coach, as well as doing the strength coordinating. So I have to work with our coaches on our staff, who I have to teach. But then Somerset, I also work with all the middle school coaches that have no idea. So how do you, because I'm pretty much having to do all of that. So how do you have a system in place? Do you work with the middle school
Middle school.
kids?
So essentially what we
how
do-
do you do that?
with middle
in
school-
season?
The middle school coaches come up to summer workouts.
Oh.
So we separate middle school. So we have our boys 10 through 12, they work together.
Yeah.
Incoming 7th through 9th grade
Yeah.
in a group. So the middle school coaches, they come and be a part of that group. And then that's my opportunity to teach them what I need them to do in the middle school. So they get to see it throughout the summer. And the way they do it is they sign up, each middle school coach has to sign up for at least 2 weeks in the summertime
Yeah.
to work.
But how do you teach them about cueing the kids and making corrections on the lifts? Because I mean, you got a shit ton of kids.
So what happens is I'm like, hey coach, you're gonna be over there on the RDL station. When we go RDL, here's what I need you to do. I need you to make sure the feet are underneath their hips. You make sure they got a tall chest, crack the knees, and all you need to tell them is push your hips back, take your eyes to the floor when you go down. Those are your coaching cues.
Okay.
And then the coach that's over here on push-ups or something like that. Hey, this is what I want you to coach in push-ups. So I'll station them out in the room and I'll give them, hey, 2 or 3 coaching cues. Just coach this. And if you don't know what to say, well, if I say something, repeat what I say.
So basically, you don't have a coaching phase, you're doing it on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
I get to go to the middle schools at the beginning of the year and talk about the program we're going to try to run at the middle school and show them how to do it. That's really my biggest touch point with the middle school coaches. And then maybe once a month, I actually get to go and run a session at the middle school. So a lot of their learning is like seeing me do it.
Well, I'm trying to get where we can do a clinic before we do something. I'm trying to push my head coach to where we have a clinic.
Yeah, we have a day like
Start.
that. So
We'll start something
do
same.
y'all have it where like the middle school coaches they come up and learn like the football system?
Yeah, but we go over.
Yeah.
Like we have one, I don't know what your feeder is. We have one primary feeder and one feeder that splits between us and another high school. But I mean, we go over to work with them with football stuff, but we haven't been able to get necessarily like in the weight room. Like I'm able to go over and do movements and linear stuff and.
So on that day, when they come over, when they come to our school to do football install, I get to do weight room install with them.
Okay.
On that day.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
I said on that subject, a few times I've done like I'll video record on my own device the 2 or 3 lifts that we're going to focus on and a couple of coaching cues. I'll send it to them the night before or the day before.
Yeah.
It's good.
That can be good. Meeting beforehand to go over the lifts. And of course, the obvious one, you just give the assistant coaches the least complex lift.
Yep.
And you assign yourself the most complex lift where you feel comfortable you can coach them. That can be impactful.
Yeah. Yes, sir. You work with girls too? Because I work with all of them.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, folks, it's been great. I know these coaches like to shake hands with everybody in here, so we'll be here to shake hands and answer any questions you have. I think it's been a good clinic. How you guys feel? Pretty good?
That's what it's